Welcome. Hi, my name is Kim Searle, Emotional Mastery, helping people create emotional calm and mental balance. And today I'm talking with Adrian Hosford, who is the chairman of Moodscope, a web-based application about positive mental health. Welcome, Adrian. How are you?
I'm very well. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So can you just explain how Moodscope came about, please?
Yes, there's a good friend of mine in the creative advertising business who suffered from basic bipolar depression. And he tried to get some help from the NHS, but really couldn't find anyone or anything to help him in any ways, in any sort of decent timescale. So he was really thrown back on his own resources. And one suggestion he had was, try and measure your mood to get a handle on it so you start to understand yourself a bit better. And he went out there and he researched the best mood tests available, the ones that were scientifically proven. And he adapted the PANAS, Positive Association, Negative Association, PANAS test, which is well known. He adopted that and simplified it and made it very workable online. So people can measure their own score and they can track their score to see if they're going up or going down. And they start to understand what drives them up and what drives them down. And in that way, they become more in control of their mood. So it's all started really with my friend John, who invented it because he's a nice creative chap, totally not a clinician, to help himself. And it grew organically, and it's now got 50,000 users. And,
wow.
been very successful in terms of helping people because we get tremendous feedback from our users. And of course, we've added lots of different services. It's evolved over the years. But that's the story of how it started.
And I love it because obviously I've started my business because of my own challenges around emotional content, and there was very little out there. There was stuff, don't get me wrong, but it was quite clunky and difficult, and I'm quite an impatient person. So consequently, I've come up with my own strategy and how I work. So I understand how that comes about. But I was interested because when we were talking just before we started here, you were talking about, was it 85% of people who may have challenges cannot get the help that they need? Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
Wow.
85% of people with mental health and anxiety issues, they just get no help at all. And of those that do get some help, it's quite limited to either drugs or counselling if they're very lucky. So the vast majority of people really get no help at all, and it's those people that we wanted to help.
Yeah, that sounds good. So perhaps you could just tell us a little bit more about Moodscope and what it does. We've got a very broad understanding now, but what can you tell us more about the detail?
Of course, yes. It's an online service, and the first thing it does is measure your mood on a 0 to 100 scale. So every day you do a 20-question test. It's a card-based test, so you flip and twist cards until you feel comfortable that the attribute on the card, things like anxiety, that those are matching how you feel today. So you end up with a very accurate score, and you do that every day, and you see how your score goes up and down, and you start to understand it better. So that's the basic method of Moodscope, and you can share that with friends so they get automatically notified of your mood. Right. But then the other side of Moodscope is even more promising, because you join a community of people who are interested in positive mental health and managing their mood. And every day, somebody from the community sends out an email to remind you take the test, but they also share some of their own experience, some of
Right.
their insights. So they tell basically real, honest, authentic messages about what they do to manage their own mental health. And those attract, that's a blog usually is attached, and they attract lots of comments from other people. So you, in effect, you get access to the experience of a large community of people who authentically share how they handle their situation.
And I love the fact you said 50,000, was it? I didn't write that
Yeah.
down, but I think you said 50. That's a lot of people and a lot of experience going on there. So that's awesome. If I have to say, you know, because it's eventually where I want to be, is reaching a larger group of people. But I think there's a big thing at the moment around community support and community back in the day. And I have my own views on where we are, why we are where we are. But back in the day, there was more support around you from family or friends. But now we're living away from family. We're living away from potentially where we work. And with lockdown, oh my word, that's just changed our whole community thing. So that's been really important, I'm sure, for Moodscope, hasn't it?
Very important. I mean, it's interesting, the resilience of the Moodscope community. We thought when lockdown hit and anxiety levels would rise, that we would see a fall in the scores, the average scores of people.
Yes.
But amazingly enough, when we measured the first month of lockdown and compared it with the month before, so kind of like for like comparison, we found that actually people's mood held up extremely well and slightly increased. So the community clearly provides a huge amount of resilience to people, and that seems to work very well. And even though a lot of people don't contribute, they read every day assiduously what the other people share, and they can search that. So if they've got a particular empathy with a certain contribution, they can bookmark that and search and find similar comments and so on. So there's a huge support available in the community around, you know, conditions that are told by really just everyday people who suffer from anxiety and depression, and share it happily, openly, honestly, no holds barred. And we don't have any advertising on the site or any distractions. You know, basically it's there to help Moodscope users as a community and to understand their own mood through measurement, sharing, tracking, and so on.
Wow, it sounds incredible. So you've mentioned how it was the first month into lockdown. Have you noticed any other trends since? Because we've been in lockdown for, is it 4 months? What, April, May, June, coming into our 4th month, aren't we? So whereabouts are you on that? Are you noticing any differences now? I get mixed reports, I think, in my world. Some people have loved it. I've reached out to former clients and they're saying it's the best thing that's happened because they've spent more time with their family. They've been able to balance. It's not been without its challenges, but they've loved the fact they've been able to spend more time with their family. They're a little bit more relaxed because they haven't got the commute time and all that good stuff. And others are like, no, they're pulling their hair out, waiting to get back. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in mine, but I don't measure in quite the way that you do. That's more scientific, if you like. So what have you noticed?
Well, the measurements are very encouraging about how resilient people in the community are. Their moods have not dropped dramatically at all. They're up and down a little bit, but essentially they've held up really well. And there's no real difference the longer it goes on. They're quite resilient, and obviously within that size of a community, there are different reactions and different people. But reading the blogs and the messages, I think people are dealing with it quite well. It's been remarkable. Being part of a community before it started gave them that resilience when it hit, and continued right on through. Of course, they have a lot more to share about the lockdown, and that makes fascinating reading.
I can imagine. Well, do you know what? And as I was asking the question, I was sort of getting the answer in my head that they're already part of community, and that community support helps them know that if there's challenges, they can go to them. It's the people who are not part of a community who feel isolated, I guess, or separated from that cause the
Exactly.
problem. So I understand that. So as
Exactly. I
we,
mean, they just they don't feel isolated as much because they're part of this community.
yeah,
So
that makes sense.
they're not, even though isolation in physical terms
Mm,
is severe for a lot of them, they're already connected to lots of like-minded people who are happy to share and support them. And, they seem to be resilient as a result of having a pre-existing community.
yeah, sounds awesome. So, I mean, what's your thoughts then? And I appreciate this is just your subjective personal thoughts, because we haven't got facts and figures to build it up yet. But what do you think is going to happen over the next sort of 6 to 12 months for people generically in the UK or elsewhere? If you're listening to this on a global level, with regards to mental health, do you think there will be some big shifts, or do you think?
I think
Um,
there have been. I mean, I've seen quite a bit of research just generally.
hmm,
Anxiety levels have risen quite dramatically. And I think globally there's a lot of increased anxiety and depression. I think mental health has suffered,
yeah.
and it seems to have suffered quite severely in some cases. So it brings a lot of new people, even though 1 in 4 people suffer mental health problems. I think that's growing, the number, as a result of all this turmoil and uncertainty in the world. And of course, with the subsequent recessions and economic troubles that are going to hit us, that can only get worse in the short term, at least the next few years. So I think we're in for a rough ride.
And that makes Moodscope community even more important, doesn't it? So I know for me, again, I'm not yet in a position to have the numbers to make measurements meaningful. But my only experiences and how I see things is that wherever you are, when you're under some form of pressure or stress, your normal behaviours become, for want of a better word, exaggerated. So those who may have just been a little concerned may turn into actually a little worried. The worried turn into, oh, actually this is not good, and something else, and they all ramp up a scale. And it's all a spectrum, isn't it? Let's be honest. There are degrees within that, and everybody who was feeling something just went up a notch or two, and those who thought they were doing quite well may have moved into that whole spectrum of, there's a problem. So I've sort of, it's nice to hear that backed up, if you like, with somebody who's in the know more than I am. So it is interesting though, because Moodscope is obviously a really good community that allows you to assess where you are and to learn from others' experiences. What's your plans for the future for Moodscope? Because it seems to me that it has got a really good future. It's just how you take it forward.
Yes, it's very interesting. The difficulty we have is just on the management side of Moodsope is it's very, at the moment, it's very hand to mouth in terms of income.
Mm.
We've sunk quite a bit of our own money into bringing the service around. And in order to help as many people as possible, we've made it free. So you can get a superior version and pay for that. So there's a premium version.
Oh, right, okay.
So there are a number of few hundred people who do pay premium service, and that covers some of our costs. But what we really want to do, looking ahead, is to make it sustainable on a permanent basis.
Mm.
So we are going to improve the service. We did some crowdfunding in order to create some resources to improve the service. So we've got to add some really important features. But then we are going to charge for it for all new members at a small monthly charge basis. So that will be compulsory. We won't throw anybody off. So people who are existing free members will continue to have that. Obviously, we'll encourage them to pay a small monthly fee. But so we're going for a sort of like a $2.99 type of £3,
All
you know,
right.
$4, whatever, that kind of level. That will happen later on this year, when the new service is fully bedded in. And we hope that will make it sustainable. And we'll always, not turn people away if they're really desperate. So we'll have a mechanism for registering people who are in dire need, and somebody else might sponsor them or whatever. We're going to make sure that nobody gets turned away, but all new members will be, encouraged to pay a small monthly fee, and that we hope by spreading it along a larger number of people will create a sustainable service that we can invest more money in.
And that's right, because the options are many, aren't they, that you could take this into directional wise, but you've got to be having the funding for it. So you've already done the crowdfunding then, have you?
We have, yeah.
Right.
We have raised a reasonable sum of money to make this transition from where we are now to an enhanced product, and to get it out to more people and to introduce a small monthly charge.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So thank you so much for talking through Moodscope, because I was aware of it, but I didn't understand enough about it. So you've certainly covered that off. Is there anything else that perhaps I didn't ask you that you'd like to say to the viewers today?
Well, I tell you, the thing that I find personally most interesting is what individual users share with each other. I think I'm a great believer in shared experiences. You can find lots out there, can't you, online, hints and tips and all of that. And there's a lot of stuff, but there's very little true shared experiences from people who are actively trying to manage their mental health in a positive way. And I think the authentic, empathetic nature of what people share with each other is amazing. Describing what the depth of their depression is, what they've done about it, little things that might help them, not preaching or anything, just basically sharing. And there's a wide, diverse number of shared experiences, which create a huge wealth. And one of the enhancements we're doing to the product is to make that even more shareable. So people can search it by category and so on. At the moment, it's done chronologically every day. There's a different theme. But so I'm really amazed at the way people share their experience and encourage other people to do so and feel part of something which is much bigger than themselves. I think if you're feeling down, the temptation is to sort of go into your own shell, and essentially this is a way of holding on to a community where you don't feel in any way patronized or generically handled. It's very personal, and it's very authentic and very real, and that makes all the difference.
And I've been using that word a lot for the last few days, even keeping it real. People are, some people are very happy to share because it's a way of, feeling heard, being noticed and appreciated for where they are, but also because they want to give back. So their motives can be many and varied, but the fact that they're willing to share just helps those people who are not. And those people who are not either not ready, have no need to share, I guess, but they can still learn. And I think that is the beauty. You said you've got some silent people on the community. They will still be learning because they will be picking up what it is they need, and they will know they're not alone. So I think this sounds like it's an awesome service, and to have 55,000 people already is brilliant. And I know you've been going a little while, but that's still quite a good audience. So well done, and keep up the good work, Adrian. It's been
Well,
a real pleasure talking to you today.
it's there as a service for everyone, Moodscope.com, and
Thank you.
I would urge people to try it. The number of people who tried it and come and said to me, I always thought I was alone, facing into what looked like a very dark place.
Mm.
And this has cheered me up, and this has made me feel part of something much better. And a lot of people have had those kind of comments that I'm not alone. There are other people, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. But they're not all heavy, depressing comments either. Some people just share things in a very light-hearted way. So
Yeah.
there's something there for everyone, wide variety of people.
Lovely. And I think you've just taken the last question out. It was moodscope.com, wasn't it? That's the website.
Yeah.
Okay, I will put that in on the comments for when I post this onto YouTube. Big thank you, Adrian, for sharing with us your journey and how it's going, and maybe come back to us in a 6 to 12 months to let us know how you're going with your new developments. That'll be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. I think today it's been really enlightening because there are a lot of avenues out there that you can take, and it's choosing the right one for you. Moodscope may just be that one. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.